All right, folks, here we go. We are so close to having this matrix thing figured out. Our next step, now that we figured out basically how to fill the whole thing in, is going to be to figure out how we can sort of now find what we want in the matrix. The beauty of the matrix, which is kind of crazy, is that when we have it filled out, that actually gives us 48 different orders of the row that we can use, which is astounding and way more than you would want in a piece of music, but it's there. Just like, we spend 3 semesters learning all these chords, and, you go all the way through major triads till, we've got the German augmented sixth by the end of Theory 3. You don't expect someone to write a piece of music that tries to use all the chords, though many have tried, few have succeeded. Same thing here. We have the matrix so that we can just see and control all of our options without really needing or wanting to use all of them, but they're there. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into this. Last we left off, here we had our, we've gone past this, but we've got our prime row up top, we've got our inversion down the left-hand side, and we know that prime and inversion are only 2 of the options that we're actually dealing with here, right? So we want to really quickly fill in the rest. I'm sure this is how quickly you did it when you filled in your matrix. Voila, there it is. I'm hoping this aligns with what you had in your matrix. But here we go. So we now can see really clearly where our other 2 orders are. Prime inversion. We also know that we've got a retrograde order, and retrograde orders are going to read from right to left. Right to left is where the retrograde order lives. And then our last one, the most exciting name, abbreviated RI, which is for retrograde inversion. These orders read from bottom to top, which is really exciting. So that's why we want to write this in a matrix so that we can see where all 4 of these orders really are coming from. So prime reads left to right, inversion reads top to bottom, retrograde reads right to left, and retrograde inversion reads bottom to top. So that's one step. Now, the excitement often here comes in how we actually name and label them. So let's get into that. Here's our matrix. Now, if we had this prime row starting on 2, this is the one that we actually used at the beginning. It's the one that starts on D natural. If we had that, we would call it prime 2 because it's a prime row reading left to right, 2, 1, 9, 10, and it starts on 2. Okay, so we would call that prime 2 or P2. All right, now this is the sort of complicating thing. If we had that same set of notes, but the order was reversed, so instead of starting on 2, instead of going 2, 1, 9, 10, if it went 11, 6, 7, 8, right? See how that's at the end there? 11, 6, 7, 8. Let's see if I can get my mouse over here. If it was 11, 6, 7, 8, this whole order going this way, we would confusingly call that R2. Even though it starts on 11, it's the retrograde of 2. It's the retrograde of the prime row that starts on 2. So this is our first sort of weird thing. None of the names come from the right side of the matrix. None of the retrograde side get to be the name because it's a retrograde of 2, all right? It's going to be a parallel to that. Inverted lines start on the top and read downwards. So this one is 7, 8. Let's see if I can get it. 7, 8, 0, 11. And we would call this I7 because it's an inverted row starting on 7, okay? Inverted row based around 7. So 7, 8, 0, 11. Now, if we go to the bottom here and we started from 10, 10, 3, 2, 1, I think you can probably guess what we would call that. We would not call it RI10. We would call it what? RI7. All right? Even though it starts on 10, it's the retrograde inversion of the 7 line. I know that's strange. This is actually something that different places do it differently. Remember at the very beginning of this, I sort of showed us this book. It's hard to see the camera. Post-tonal Theory by Joseph Strauss. He is one of the first authors to do it this way, but this has become a more contemporary way to do it. It's a lot more straightforward. I know it doesn't seem like this could be more straightforward than anything. This is a lot more straightforward than how it used to be done, so we're going with this. So the main key to take away right now, only the top and left-hand side of the matrix give the name. The top and the left give the name. Nothing from the right or bottom give the name of the row. The retrograde sides, retrograde inversion and just pure retrograde, do not contribute the name of the row. So let's do a little test. What if we had, see this arrow over here, so it says we're going from right to left. What would we call this row going from right to left? What do you think? If you said R5, you are correct. You win, right? So even though it starts on 2, that is not where the name comes from, because the name always comes from the left or the top. All right, so that's R5. Let's do another one. What about here? We're going from top downwards, starting here on 6. What are we going to call that one? What do you think? It's on the top, so it's an I, and it's I6. So the row that goes 6, 7, 11, 10, 3, that would be I6. All right, let's do another one. Here we go on the bottom. We're going upwards from the bottom. So we've got 4, 9, 8, 7, 3, and onwards. What do we think? Do we think this one, does the bottom give us the name? No. The top gives us the name, so now we just need to remember it's going to be something 1. What is it when it's going from top or bottom to top? It's RI1. It's the retrograde inversion of 1. And now lastly, what if it was left to right over here starting on 9? You are correct. P9. P9. So that's how we name these. We're going to do a little bit more practice with figuring out the naming as we go. But again, the key for these is that the matrix gives us all the options, which is super, super valuable, not because we want to use them all, but because it's nice to have everything contained in one place so that then you can make musical choices as to which you actually want to use.